Thank you. And I did want to take a moment to thank the Chamber for sponsoring the event, and of course to Humboldt Unified School District for allowing us to use the boardroom. This is the way the forum is going to work. We're going to give each of you 2 minutes to introduce yourself and make an opening statement. Then each one of you will have 3 minutes to answer our bank of questions that we have kept hermetically sealed so that no one knows them ahead of time. Questions will rotate, so each one of you will get a chance to go first. That's the idea, and also one of you will each get a chance to have the last word as well. Each one of you will also have a 1-minute summation at the end, and we do believe in freedom of speech. However, we do want you to avoid directing comments to other candidates, just as a matter of decorum. Each candidate can answer all the questions, but doesn't necessarily have to do so. Each answer will be timed. If you don't use the full amount of time, it's perfectly fine. And we're going to show on the 3-minute answers, you'll get a warning 30 seconds out. And on the 1 and 2 minute answers, you will get 10-second advance notice of that. So with that having been said, I do want to also acknowledge that since my wife isn't here tonight, that on September 1st of this year, we began our 40th year of broadcasting here in Yavapai County. And just to show you that our original broadcast site was at the corner of Jackie Drive and Spouse. It was originally a dentist's office. Then it went through 3 or 4 different machinations. We had it for a while, and now it's back to being a dentist's office again. So it's amazing but true. All right, so we are going to start with Bruce Sprague as our first candidate who will address question number 1. And again, you will all get a chance to be asked the same question in order. So Bruce, we'll start with you. What motivated you to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board? This is what happens. This is what happens when you put the questions on top of the instructions. Okay. Thank you. Bruce, take 2 minutes and introduce yourself and make an opening statement.
Yes, my name is Bruce Sprague, and I'm running for the Humboldt Unified School District School Board position. This is the first time running for public office. My experience is the United States Marine Corps during the Vietnam era. Very proud of that organization, and I support it 100%. I've been an athletic coach and softball coach at both Bradshaw and at Chino Valley for the last 10 years. I was a substitute teacher in the district for the last 10 years. I used to own a commercial trucking company for a while. I'm a retired road crew superintendent engineer with the County of San Diego for almost 30 years. I also was in the cleared security business. I hold a top secret clearance, and I was a manager of a highly government contractor for classified material in San Diego, California for the last 8 years before we moved here. I have a bachelor's degree in business management from Christian Heritage University in San Diego, California. I have an associated aviation management degree from Grossmont College. I hold multiple pilot ratings all the way from commercial, multi-engine, single-engine land instrument. I don't get to fly as much as I used to, but it's one of my main hobbies. My platform is clear and concise and consistent rules for everyone, a strict, dependable code of ethics for students, teachers, and administrators, a more more after-school sports and enrichment programs. That's one of my areas of expertise. I think one of the areas, because I've been doing it for so long, one of the ways that we keep our kids in school particularly is to keep them in sports, band, extracurricular activities, because they don't have grades or don't have citizenship, they can't participate. And most of these kids want to participate in football, softball, and band, drama, everything you could possibly think of. So I'm really big on forcing those areas. We have a great program with the over at the Mountain Institute over here by the by Ruger Corporation, where they have a college program over there. We have a lot of
Thank you.
Am I
Got 2 minutes.
done?
Yep.
Okay.
Next for opening statement, Sue Unvericht.
Hi. My name is, yeah, you turn it off, thank you. My name is Sue Unvericht. I'm a retired CPA by profession. It really was a great career, but my heart is for the next generation, to come alongside them and to help them walk in their destiny. I've volunteered for children all my adult life, and especially since moving here in 2011. I've been a substitute teacher, served on the Prescott YMCA Finance Committee, worked at the Community Pregnancy Center at my church, and as a CASA for kids in foster care. I've been attending school board meetings for about a year and learned that we haven't yet achieved our pre-COVID enrollment numbers, even though our population has grown. This tells me we need to build trust in our schools, focusing on our students' achievement, building bridges with our parents, and simplifying our teachers' scope. Let our teachers focus on teaching. They're not counselors, nor are they bookkeepers. We cannot be distracted from our very noble core mission. As a retired CPA, I will provide oversight that our tax dollars are well used. We spend over $11,000 per student. We must make the most of that money to provide effective academic learning so that our students are prepared for productive participation in society. I pay as much attention to effective policy implementation as I do to policy making. I am passionate about strong public schools. My own children were educated in our neighborhood public school. High-performing public schools provide great value to us all. So I too want to say thank you to the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce for this forum, and I'm just blown away by how many people have come out tonight to learn about the candidates before voting. I thank you for your civic engagement.
And next up for opening statement, Bonnie Maxwell Drake.
Thank you. My name is Bonnie Maxwell Drake. I am a Prescottonian. I was born and raised in Prescott. I've raised my children in Prescott Valley. I had a 10-year venture in the Valley. I also worked for a CPA. I wasn't a CPA, but I worked for a CPA for about 5 years. Worked in a senior community, fell in love with seniors. When I moved back to Prescott, I knew that that was the industry I wanted to work in. So I've been in that industry since 2009 when I returned. I have been involved in my children's schools since the beginning, and I've volunteered. I've taught art history and art education, been on the field trips, and been involved in everything that they've had going on, helping the teachers with the mundane things that they need taken care of so that they can focus on their lesson plans. And it's very important to me that we focus on providing what the schools need, what the teachers need, what the students need to advance the programming that we want, to elevate the education that we want for our students. And that all takes providing the right tools to both the students, the teachers, the schools, and the staff. So that's what I'm promoting. Thank you.
Thank you. And next for opening statement, Zach Garfield.
Hi, folks. Yeah, thank you very much for coming out this evening. Thank you to Marnie, the chamber, and everybody else who's involved in putting this together. I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace because I had shoulder surgery last week, and I had to shave with my left hand. I don't do anything with my left hand, so if it's a little funky over here, thank you for your grace. I'm from here. I'm locally grown, I'd like to say, and I went to Dexter Elementary School, and I graduated from Yavapai College before heading down to Phoenix and completing my education. And I also, my wife and I decided we wanted to raise our children in this community because I was from here. I understood its values. I understood how resourceful a small community can be to really leverage all of the funds that they have, all of the talent that they can to come together and really create that center of excellence that I believe our district is already. We have room to grow. We have room to adapt and do new things. But that's what I'm excited about. The fact that this is my community. I've been a coach. I've been an umpire in chief as part of the board of a little league. I've done a lot of interactions with the kids and teachers and everybody else in the classrooms themselves. And so I'm just a proud parent. And my children, my son is a junior at the high school. My daughter graduated earlier this year and is up at NAU now, pursuing an occupational therapy degree. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. I like the people that are around me. We've had some conversations. I believe we all have the same types of things in heart. And so it's not going to be an easy choice for y'all, but thank you in advance.
All right, thank you. And last with opening statement, Mary Ann Dellinger.
I'm Mary Ann Dellinger, Professor Emerita of the Virginia Military Institute, with a lifelong career in education that spans 50 years, 4 languages, 3 states, and 2 continents. I hold a PhD in Spanish from ASU and a master's in education from that place in Tucson. Before my tenure at VMI, I was a classroom teacher in the Tucson Unified School District and an instructor of education at the University of Phoenix. I have co-authored 4 textbooks, and during the final part of my career, I also served as a national reviewer of teacher accreditation programs. I have been attending school board meetings since July 2023 and have addressed the board on 4 occasions, principally on matters of parental rights. Good things are happening in HUSD. The expansion of the career and technical education program, dual enrollment with Yavapai, our new exploratory programs at the middle school, just to name a few. But there are also some challenges, and these are all interrelated. Persistent low test scores, 24% chronic absenteeism, and especially the escalation of antisocial disruptive behaviors. Like most Americans, I am deeply troubled by the state of education in our country. My concern stems from my experience, of course, but also my academic research in teaching methods and the discourse of totalitarian regimes. In other words, how tyrannical governments use language in education to create chaos and turn people on each other. I know that big education is as real and as dangerous as big tech, big pharma, and big food. Not because it's a talking point on X, but because I've studied and lived it for the past 30 years. I may not be able to reverse the tide nationwide, but I know how to keep it from crashing down on the walls of HUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we now will have our questions, and Bruce Sprague, you are first. And the question is, what motivated you to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board position, and what specific contributions do you hope to make? You have 3 minutes.
First of all, I want to apologize for my lack with the cell phone. I am sometimes cell phone challenged, so I didn't get it turned off. I thought I had it turned off, but I want to apologize to Sue for not having it off, but that's my fault. Anyways, yes, I've been working in the school district for the last 10 years as a substitute teacher, and I've seen where I think that we could make some big areas of improvement. I think our administrators do a very good job and are trying to do a very good job, but I can see some areas where we could maybe make some improvement, particularly in the discipline area. And some of the kids that go to school here are a little bit, I think we need a little more guidance in that area. As far as my experience, I think I could bring a lot to the school district because I've worked with high school kids and high school athletics for over 30 years. I've been fortunate enough to be coach some really good football and softball teams, and my background from my government work, I worked in large government organizations. I was a Road Crew Superintendent Engineer for the county for almost 30 years, and in that organization, I was on many boards and have to deal with people and administrators. So I think if I was elected to get on the board, I would do a very good job with that position. Thank you.
All right, and next is Sue Unverricht. What motivated you to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board position, and what specific contributions do you hope to make? You have 3 minutes.
Thanks so much. Well, I think I mentioned that my personal lifetime mission is coming alongside the next generation and helping them to walk in their destiny, and that's always been big in my life. For me, I mentioned that my own children thrived and went in a neighborhood school. We didn't really have all the school choice in Illinois that you have here in Arizona, so it was just, well, there it is. And everything was great. And like Bonnie, I was highly involved as a mother and a school volunteer, and my husband served on the school board for 8 years in our town in Illinois. Public education, we're still, what with all the, you read about various things, but actually 85% of children are still in public education. And so it's really very important for our whole society. And also, I guess I will share my own personal story as a child. As a child, I was from a home that was, I just generally say, disorganized, and all that entails. So, it was just basically, there's the bus, get on the bus, be on the bus, come home, and don't make waves. And so, and there was not just disorganization, but not chaos, but, just disorganization is maybe the best word. So anyway, school was a terrific place for me. It was a calm place. It was a place where I could learn and think about things unrelated to matters at home. And along the way, I could gain skills that allowed me to make some different choices, opened up great vistas for me. So I'm really passionate also about that with our students, that we will provide opportunities for their vision to grow and their picture of themselves to expand, what they can do, what they can be, and at the same time giving them the skills that they need to be able to achieve those dreams with their own hard work and perseverance. I have a lot of dreams. I have a big dream that our district will be, since I've got more time, that our district will just be able to turn some things around. And I feel we can pretty quickly because we do have a lot of strengths in our district. We have our very experienced teaching staff, for one. I would just love to see Humboldt Unified School District be the district in Yavapai County that everybody wants to get their kids into, and that we will be the thought leaders and showing others the way.
All right, thank you. And Bonnie Maxwell Drake, you're up next. What motivated you to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board, and what specific contributions do you hope to make?
I just love that, Sue, the wanting to be the one the leader that everybody wants to mimic. That's beautiful. So my story is that I have 3 children. My youngest is a junior in high school, and my older 2 are in college and in their career field. They went to Liberty Traditional, Glassford Hill Middle School and Bradshaw High School in our system, and got great opportunities, got some dual accredited college credits, things of that nature that helped them. They were able to be involved in certain programs that also helped entice them into some career ideas. But it was a little bit limited, and they still weren't really sure what they wanted to do post high school. They're figuring it out as they go. But the cost of living in this town, well, in this area and in the country in general, is really extremely high. And it's hard for young people that are thinking about their careers and starting a life and starting a family and how they're going to support that family. And I feel like we need to help boost and give them a little bit more opportunity to land on their feet with a little bit more opportunity and career acceleration post high school. So I'm really excited about the project Momentum that we are approved for the next couple years, and how that's going to enhance the teaching methods that our teachers are going to be utilizing, the way that the school district is laid out right now, so that the pre-K has the ability to be more prepared for elementary school. The elementary school is being prepared more for middle school. Middle school is being prepared more with the CTED program for high school. I would like to see a furthering of the career education courses, and I would like to see, along with Dr. Christine Gettens, that all of our high school seniors have the opportunity to graduate with their associate's degree. So that is what's motivating me to run for office, and I just want to support the progress that we already are in. And I agree with Sue. I think that we have great momentum happening, and I really am excited about being part of the future.
All right, and next, what motivated you, Zach Garfield, to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board position, and what specific contributions do you hope to make?
Thank you. Yeah, so I've worked from home for probably about 15 years exclusively, and as a result, my social life is my kids. And where my kids go, I go. And so, like I mentioned, I've spent a lot of time talking with educators, being in the classroom, reading, seeing these children's eyes light up when you walk in with a book and you're surrounded and they're excited and they're just hanging on every word, and it forced me to be expressive and have a good time with that. And so that's where I've spent my time, and I've seen the impact that a strong public school system can have on children, on their paths in life, on really pulling out their maximum potential if they're supported in the right ways. And so that's what excites me. That's why I got involved, is because my son is a junior, my daughter's graduated now. I want to stay a part of this. I'm still working from home, but I want to be involved. I want to use the strengths that I have as a business professional, as a leader, to be able to help to come up with strategies and work and collaborate with the folks, many of whom are in this room, to drive us forward in the direction, recognizing the winds of change, and understanding what that means to actually executing plans, thinking through plans. Also, I think it's really important to have a very engaged community, right? And so I would love to see and help institute more ways for us to get that bi-directional interactions going. It seems like there's a lot of passionate people in this community who have a lot on their minds, that they want to be a part of the solution. And so my thoughts are, is there a better way to, keeping open meeting laws in mind, engage in a different way, and I'm not exactly sure what that would look like, but with parents, with other guardians, with business leaders in this community, how can we come together and really put out ideas and work through those ideas together and implement them. So that's why I'm running. I want to leverage my skills. I love the school district. It's been a big part of our lives. It's been the biggest part of our soul, with my daughter having been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 7th grade, and the community just surrounding her. The school nurse was my best friend for the longest time, our best friend for the longest time. So I just see what those resources can look like and how that support can come no matter what whatever your socioeconomic background is. The public school's there for you. So that's my primary motivation and reason what I bring to the table.
And first round, last question to Marianne Dellinger. What motivated you to run for the Humboldt Unified School District Governing Board position, and what specific contributions do you hope to make?
So I believe in local government, and especially in local school districts. I am not a fan of the Department of Education, and should it be eliminated next year, the screams that you hear will be coming from Granville. I also believe, though, in civic responsibility, and that it is the obligation of we, the people, not only to talk about our rights, but also to come forward for obligations. And the way we do that is giving the greatest skills that we have and using our knowledge and our experience for the greater good of the community. I've been a classroom teacher, K through, well, actually kindergarten through adult. I've been a teacher educator. I've published textbooks. I've been a program reviewer of teacher education. So my question to you is, how could I not run for school board? So the contributions that I'd like to make, there are basically three. And the first is communication. I think, and they're cheap. I got news for you, they're cheap. So I think we need to open more ways of communication beyond the web. So we find out more ways besides the web page, which is sort of the obligatory, or social media, more face-to-face, however we can get it, maybe open forum, maybe questions and answers, get to know people, more communication. And part of that communication is communication with the Spanish-speaking community. I'm bilingual. I know that there are some barriers and interpreters only go so far. So I would be more than happy to do meetings with bilingual parents, get some instruction on Parent View. How do you access Parent View? How are the books arranged in the library? How can kids get books out of the library? And my third point is community. So there is a misconception that we old people aren't interested in schools. Well, we are. And as I knock on doors, I find a lot of people who want to get involved. So I would like to make a database of what are people's skills, what can they bring to the schools, and match them up. That would be my three areas. So communication, reaching out to this Hispanic community, this monolingual, and community. Thank you.
All righty, we are moving on now to question number 2, and Sue Unverricht, you will get to answer the question first. What do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing HUSD, and how would you, as a board member, address these challenges?
Yes, thank you, Sanford. I believe the most pressing issues facing HUSD is actually related to also the goal, the number one goal that the board has, which is to grow our student achievement. We need to really focus on with a sense of urgency on just seeing these test scores, seeing our students achieve at a higher level. I mean, Christine said in the newspaper that we need to do better, and I completely agree with her, and I do have a strong sense of urgency about it. So I believe that we will do that by focusing our attention on traditional academics in the classroom and not being distracted by other things. I believe we will accomplish that by building bridges with our parents, because obviously the home and the school need to be integrated as much as possible. And I believe we will do that by supporting our teachers and by letting them be teachers and not asking them to do other things, to layer onto them many, many tasks that end up to be distractions from their core mission. So those are how I think we will do it. I'm very interested in this idea that I have read about of academic return on investment, which is maybe, I'm not very clear on what Project Momentum is, but I'm very interested in this idea that has been used successfully in, I just recently read in Real Clear Education, in Colorado's Boulder Valley School District and some others, and they have had exceptional experience with this a data-driven approach, analyzing the costs and outcomes of programs to identify those that deliver the most educational bang for the buck. And I'm sure we all think about that, But we need to be laser focused on it, especially as some of the funding that the government has been providing, the post-COVID emergency funding is coming to an end. It provides us with an opportunity to evaluate what we've been doing and to really determine what is working and to put more resources there and less resources in other areas that, maybe old favorites or sacred cows, but actually don't impact our students as well. So if this is what Project Momentum is, I am all in favor of it. And I think we are really in a time because of the changing in the funding for this type of opportunity. Yes.
Next, Bonnie Maxwell Drake. Question is, what do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing HUSD, and how would you, as a board member, address these challenges?
I agree with Sue. I think that being last in the country, in the United States, for education testing scores is definitely a cry for help. I am, like I said before, I'm thrilled that Christine has applied for and received the Project Momentum for 2 years, and that's going to not only give the teachers the tools to increase their teaching methods, but it's also going to give us the results. And I think it's going to give us pretty quick results on improvements of these score improvements and the mechanisms to go forward to continue to elevate that advancement. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like that goes hand in hand with attracting and retaining the highly effective employees, which I also think is equally as important, because when you have the tools to do your job correctly and you understand, how to properly put your teaching plan together in a way that is really showing progress, I think we will retain more of our educators and have more highly effective teachers stay within our systems and stay the course with our students. So I think that those things are already in place, and I think we will see the progress for that.
All right. And Zach Garfield, what do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing HUSD, and how would you as a board member address these challenges?
So I think that one of the biggest ones in talking, a few, there's three and that come to mind. One is, excuse me, the security of our children. I'm not talking just about somebody coming in from the outside and doing some of the terrible things that we've seen in the news. That is absolutely something we want to pressure test our security plans against, work with Mr. Dahl over there in doing so. But I think that it's also about some of the bullying that's happening. It's becoming something where it's getting a little bit more airtime on social media, and there's some. I don't know the extent to which it's real and easily defined, or if it's something that has a great deal of nuance that we need to work through. But we need to ensure that we're pressure testing our policies against how to stop bullying. When my children were coming up in the middle school era, that was a top priority, and maybe they're just not talking about it in the high school as much, but it was something that was talked about a lot, and it seemed that the actions that were taken were helping. So I think that security is a big part of it. It gives us as parents an opportunity to send our children into the care of the district without worry that something's going to go wrong. So we got to be prepared, and we got to test. Another one that's really big is the cost of living. And not that we can do anything about the cost of living necessarily up here, but I think that there's opportunities right now. We need to make sure we're competitive in what we pay our teachers. In the lowest per child state in the nation, we are also paying our teachers on average $4,000 less than the Arizona average, right? That's not going to help. We are an expensive place to live. And so I was speaking with somebody from the Prescott board the other day, also from the Chino Valley board, and they have some really, really cool things that they've put in place to create housing, whether it's temporary housing to attract folks, help them with rent for the first period of time, whatever the case may be. In some cases, they're actually partnering with the city to provide first responder housing, because that's also a challenge. We have to have strong first responders, as well as as well as teachers and some staff as well. So I think there's opportunities to look at lots of different levers that we can pull. And so that would be my second one, and then 30 seconds to say my last one. Really an opportunity for us to continue to connect the business leaders in our community with the different technical education courses, and bringing them to the table and have them be mentors and help us understand what's really needed out of those programs. I think is really important as well, because not everybody's going to go out of town. I left for 10 years and I came back because there's something magnetic about this place. So, thanks.
All right. So, Mary Ann Dellinger, what do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing HUSD, and how would you, as a board member, address these challenges?
So I talked about 3 of the challenges, and I'll come back to those. But I think there's an overarching, I know, there's an overarching umbrella that is consistency. Okay, we need to be, now this is not just HUSD, this is something that's plagued education as long as I've been in it, right? Because we all want to do the right thing, and so the next shiny object comes out and we're going to go there. And because we want instant results. So I think that the problem is inconsistency, and let's start, I said there were 3 problems: low scores, absenteeism, chronic absenteeism, and the escalation of disciplinary problems. And they're all related, and it starts with discipline. So when I talk about consistency, I think that we need to look for a consistent discipline plan. We're not supposed to call it discipline, classroom management, behavioral management, for all the schools. We have a population that's mobile because they're at risk. They might be in Coyote Springs now, and in in Liberty next week. We don't know. So a consistency where you go to Mr. Jones' class, this is what's expected, these are the consequences. You go to Mrs. Chavez's class, this is what's expected, these are the consequences. You switch schools, the same thing. I think we need to get back to a behavioral model. And the 3 that I would suggest are assertive discipline by Lee Cantor, classroom management that works in Marsano, and Fred Jones. The reason I would suggest Marsano is because the district is already using his performance for evaluating teachers. So there's a consistency. If we interlock Marsano's discipline plan with the teacher evaluation, we already have some continuity, right? We have to get a hold on this behavioral problem. No teacher, no matter how good they are, if they cannot control that classroom, they will not be able to teach. And if the teacher next door can't control hers, then I get that problem when they come to my class. So we have to get a hold on this. And I think the way we do that is we get input. We get a big committee, we get committee, and I'm sorry, but not administrators. Teachers, teachers' aides, community members, and kids. Good, reliable kids from the high school, to get on this committee, study the plans, get the correct mentoring program, and like they're doing with Project Momentum, and begin a good program of management. Thank you.
All right, and Bruce Sprague, you get the last word on question number 2, and that is, what do you believe are the most pressing issues currently facing HUSD, and how would you as a board member address these challenges?
Well, first on my list is my background is in public works and facilities, and so I've had a conversation with a couple of the administrators here in this district and other districts, and the district is in real need of some severe facility replacement projects, air conditioning and stuff, and so I would think that that would be a pressing issue to get that fixed before it becomes a lot bigger problem. So that would be one of my areas that I would like to be involved in, because I have a very big background in that area, coming from an engineering background, so I would like to see that come out. I was put in a situation a couple of years ago that I wasn't qualified to be. I was talked into being a special ed, long-term special ed teacher for emotionally disturbed, and it was very disturbing to me to see how that program needs a lot of work. It wasn't so much the administrators, we just have a problem getting really qualified teachers to be in that program and to get that on, so I would like to see that in there, because as Mary Ann was saying, there's a lot of disciplinary problems in that area that need to be addressed from those students, and so I would like to see that program improved as much as possible. I also would like to see some more vocational training. I know we have a really good program over at the vocational school over at Yavapai College over by the airport. I've subbed over there. That's a very good program. They've got some tremendous programs in there. I would like to see us extend onto that program or go further with that program, even into schools, to get as more kids involved in as possible, because a lot of these kids aren't going to go to college. A lot of these kids are going to go, so if they can get necessarily a degree, but some kind of a background, and like I was over there, I substitute taught over there for the fire science program. It's a tremendous program. If those students graduate from that program, they get a degree in, well, not a degree, but a certificate in fire science. They can take it to any fire stations in the country, I guess, or I know in this area, and they got a leg up on being a firefighter, which I think we need a lot more first responders, and I think that would be a very good issue. And the last issue that I'd like to talk about is the security on campus. I've seen it in person. There's a lot of trouble with security. I know we have security officers on campus, and we also have a very good security team at Bradshaw that I think is doing a good job, but sometimes they're hamstringed by a lot of the stuff that goes on, and they're not allowed to do. My main thing with security is we need to have a strict, consistent rules for everyone, a strict, dependable code of ethics for students, teachers, and administrators, and to administrator there and not have our hands tied by some parent that doesn't like what the school's doing or our dress codes or something like that, so they will complain that they don't want. So I would like to see the rules put in place and then the rules enforced, and I would like to see the board be able to back up there and help Christina.
Okay. Thank you.
Christina, any way I could.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all.
And keep your eyes on the sign people.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so now we have question number 3, and Bonnie Maxwell Drake, you are first up. Given the current and proposed budgets for HUSD, what changes or adjustments in spending would you recommend, and how would you ensure that these align with the district's goals?
So part of our duties, our roles, are to set the policies that guide the public education of the students in HUSD regarding their needs and the aspirations to develop programs consistent with the community resources. So it really, so right now, to my knowledge, based on the board meetings that I've attended, it seems like that we have done a pretty fair job, or that the current board has done a very good job at staying within the resources that we have in the programs that we're supporting. So other than, looking at the data and seeing, what we're getting, as Sue said, the best bang for your buck out of, and, should we keep on keeping on with what we're always investing in, or should we make changes towards, the future and the needs of the future, and what things might benefit the schools and the students going forward. And if that money should be better spent somewhere else, that's To the best of my knowledge, that's just evaluating the data.
Okay. Next, Zach Garfield, given the current and proposed budgets for HUSD, what changes or adjustments in spending would you recommend, and how would you ensure that these align with the district's goals?
So I'll just be honest, I'm not that familiar with the details of the current and proposed budget. One of the things in attending the school board meetings that I've seen is that, going back to that resourceful comment, the money comes from a lot of different places, and it comes with expectations about what is done with that money. And so one of my goals is to work with Mike, the finance director, to understand the sources of all that funding, tie it to some of the things that we've talked to today to see what is getting the most funding, what's not getting the attention it deserves. Sue kind of touched on that as well earlier. You know, what's going to have the biggest bang for the buck, right? So I'm not familiar with all the nuances of the budget, but I think that in just talking to the folks in, Dr. Griffin and others, that it's a complicated environment to manage the business of school delivery, and especially if you're a public school district that relies on funding from so many different sources, and you have to have good, strong folks who are writing grant proposals, and you have to back it up with data. Things like Project Momentum that's a beautiful solution. The fact that our curriculums director and Dr. Griffin were able to negotiate this program going out to all the schools, not just the 1 or 2 pilot schools that are typical, I think is an amazing use of resource as well. So I'm not going to say that I know all the details, but I do know how, as part of my work as an executive director in the company I work in a financial services company, for as long as I have, I know how to set strategy, align mission, vision, all of those different things, and then put your budget behind it, and properly monitor how that money is used. So,
All right. Mary Ann Dellinger, given the current and proposed budgets for HUSD, what changes or adjustments in spending would you recommend, and how would you ensure that these align with the goals of the district?
Okay, so here's my disclaimer. Numbers are my kryptonite. Don't do well with numbers. So I've been taking a whole lot of webinars on school budgets. And I'm finding that what I really can't make a statement until I know until first of all, I dive into it. Because what we see on board docs are general categories that are less than the actual board sees. So when the board sees and the school officials see what the budget is, it's much more explanatory. It's broken down better, right? So I would need that. I will say, however, that I do have, being a teacher, a huge problem with only 50% of the budget going to instruction. For years, teachers have spent money out of their own pocket. Now it's not even deductible. They need their materials. They need whatever they need to do to help students perform better. So I am concerned about that, and that so much money is going to counselors, I understand the vice principals. I'm not going to get on that. I understand that that's a disciplinary thing. I would like to see Marsano implemented so we don't need vice principals unless we want them for curriculum development. That would be great. I think there are a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians. So we've got, that's probably politically incorrect, sorry. But I think that we have too many instructional support people and not enough teachers. Of course, it will be a problem. I can understand that it's a problem of budgeting. I also think that it's more than just salaries for teachers. There are other things besides salaries. It's the conditions in which they work. It's a class size. It's their buy-in. What voice do they have in policy? So that's all I can add, except that, again, my kryptonite.
Bruce Sprague, given the current and proposed budgets for HUSD, what changes or adjustments in spending would you recommend, and how would you ensure that these align with the goals of the district?
Well, along with what Mary Ann said, I've looked at a couple of the spreadsheets for last year, and I'm looking over that. this is kind of my area because I ran large budgets when I was with the County of San Diego for many years as superintendent. And you have to go over and see what your major issues that you need to get in the district from facilities to teacher salaries to athletics to coaches, and all these areas are important. So I think you need to have a step-by-step plan of how you're going to accomplish it. And the only way you can do that is to dive into the position. I'm not 100% familiar with everything that goes on in the district. I've had a little bit of guidance from some of the former school board members and stuff, but I would think that it would be very industrious if I am allowed to get elected, or if I'm privileged to get elected, that I would like to look in to see where the areas that we can make improvements with the money and where we spend the money and how we spend the money, particularly when it comes to teachers' salaries. I know a lot of the teachers up here have had a real struggle of being able to make a living up here because the cost of living and housing is so much. I know a couple of years ago, this is something that I was aware of. Two of the teachers that were at Bradshaw, one was a basketball coach and his wife was also a basketball coach, and they could not make a living up here because they made $10,000 a year more each to go to Phoenix. I don't understand. But maybe I don't understand the scenarios of it, but I don't understand why a teacher in Phoenix can make $10,000 a year more than the same qualified teacher here. So I would like to see something so that we can keep our good teachers and keep our good people here in this district, because that's the important thing to me, and then also to make sure that our facilities, our classrooms, and everything is up to par with what it needs to be done. Thank you.
And finally, for this round, Sue Unbrick, given the current and proposed budgets for HUSD, what changes or adjustments in spending would you recommend, and how would you ensure that these align with the goals of the district?
So I'm familiar with fund accounting. I'm familiar with government accounting. I've done business consulting. I have served as the finance director to a board, and so this kind of question, somebody from the outside is not going to come in and make sensible, sweeping statements to criticize a budget that's been worked on through a great process. So changes are made at a detail level. I would like to see a finance committee set up. That is one of the ideas I have. I have served boards, and I have served as the financial person to the board, and I have met with the board treasurer in advance of the board meeting for about an hour just to review whatever's going on. And I have actually used that relationship when I was making some decisions about changes to loan structure and things like that. So I would love to have a very good relationship, a finance committee, if it's allowed on a public board, or just one person that would meet with our CFO in advance of the meeting and just work through some details and understand really well details, and then be able to just tell the board, yeah, we had our meeting and everything looked great. Because it also is a strength for the CFO to have a board member that is more intimately involved in their decisions, if appropriate, and just in what's going on. It is really a strength for an organization. So I haven't heard that it's not allowed, but if it is allowed, I think that would be a great improvement for our district. I also served on the much smaller board, the YMCA board, the Prescott YMCA board, and I met with Damon and his financial person every month, and it's very collaborative. It's not to play gotcha or something like that. It's just to develop strength. So I would really love to do that. I would love to serve our board in that way and to serve our district in that way if I would be elected. I have to say, as far the big picture, so I have the Auditor General report, and I also see, yes, that instruction spending is 56%. I think this was the last one that they posted, which I guess was fiscal year 2023. And so apparently it compares favorably with some other districts in the state. But when I see in 2007, we spent 62% of our budget on instruction, that's kind of exciting to me because it says to me that we can do better, and we don't have to compare ourselves just with what's going on in the state.
All right, thank you. And now we're moving on to question number 4. Zach Garfield, you're first. What skills and knowledge do you believe are essential for a high school graduate to succeed in today's world? And how would you work as a board member to ensure students are properly equipped?
Yeah, so I think that the most transferable skills are a lot of the soft skills that may not get as much play, but really will advance a child into adulthood, into lots of different positions, such as leadership, having actually it's a lot about the character, right? So I think skills are important. It's important to know how to learn. It's important to stay engaged and focused. These are things that are necessary in life to be able to understand the details of a situation, work through problem solutioning, analysis, those types of things. It doesn't matter if you are a plumber on a job where you're having to evaluate the weak points of a system, or you're doing coding for software development. There's lots of specific skills that you can take with you into the world there, and you can get specific training for that. But generally speaking, I think that giving our children an opportunity to demonstrate leadership, and I see that happening a lot in the clubs that are happening. My daughter was in Interact, which is a partnership with the Rotary Club. She was in National Honor Society. My son's in football, and he's been identified as a student athlete leader. And I think that these are the things that we can take forward into the marketplace and as citizens, is primarily around leadership, being able to communicate, problem solve, and analyze situations. So that's generally speaking. Yes, there's lots of, I think personally, financial literacy is huge. In the last board meeting, there was a discussion about how they're launching some financial literacy programs at this school here. And I was so excited because that, to me, it's my field, first of all, but it's something that I think we need an informed, in this massive, consumeristic world that we live in. We need people who are informed. They understand how credit works. You understand how savings works, how investment works, because it is more and more expensive to live. So you have to have those skills as well. So those are basics that I think are transferable across whatever folks decide to do with their lives.
All right, Marianne Dellinger, what skills and knowledge do you believe are essential for a high school graduate to succeed in today's world, and how would you work as a board member to ensure students are properly equipped?
Okay. The job of the school is to transfer knowledge to the next generation. It's to teach them how to analyze, how to synthesize, and to evaluate that human knowledge, in the hopes that they will soon contribute to that body of knowledge to create more. That's the basic thing. So let's talk first. We can't talk about skills for the professional world until we talk about the basics, right? Math, science, reading, writing. 21st century skills, which is one of the expressions we use now, has a basis in the 18th century Enlightenment. It has a basis in 19th century industrialization, and it has a basis in 20th century scientific discoveries. So we just can't say, let's prepare. We have to have that basis. The first thing is that basis. So I think that, and the board, if I were on the board, if I'm lucky enough to get elected to the board, my concentration is on getting back to academics and making sure that that everything is going, that the kids are prepared to go from 4th grade to 5th grade to 6th grade with what they need. So I love the career technical education, but you can't wait until 8th grade or 12th grade to know how to measure something. You have to learn how to measure something before then, right? I do believe also in the soft skills. We have far too many screens, and I understand that's often the only thing that we have. There isn't enough human contact, so that we're seeing that employers nowadays are complaining the kids don't, that new generation doesn't look them in the eyes. That's one of my reasons also for having more volunteers in the schools. Less screens, more volunteers on the playground, in the cafeteria, or whatever. And also that collaboration. So when we hook up children with the community, with adults, for example, the wonderful example, the gardens at Granville. That's an example of volunteers coming in, kids learning basic skills and skills that can go out into the professional world, because they're learning math, botany, and my time is up, and and gardening. So that's what I would say.
I just wanted to make sure you all knew that first card does say 30 seconds, so it's green, it's not red, so it's not a stop sign, just so you know. All right, so Bruce Sprague, you're up next. What skills and knowledge do you believe are essential for a high school graduate to succeed in today's world, and how would you work as a board member to ensure students are properly equipped?
Yes, I would think the main areas that we need to work on is that they all need to learn to do teamwork, problem solving, learning, and to lead and to follow. New knowledge, career thinking, career exploration I think are a big area, but probably one of them. And then basically we need to teach them math, reading, writing, English skills, also how to fill out a job application, how to write a check, because I've taught in some of the areas, and some of these kids, even at the 11th or 12th grade level, still don't know what that's all about. I think we need to do more of that in our schools. I think we also need to have a lot more training in civics and government. I think a big problem, a lot of the kids don't really understand how our government works. A lot of them say, you'll hear them say, well, we're a republic, we're a constitutional republic, we're not a democracy. A lot of people teach that wrong. That's wrong in history, in my opinion. So the kids need to know where our country is and where we're standing. I think a lot of kids today don't know that, and I think it's real important when they graduate from college, they should know, or high school, they should know what that's all about. And so I would like to see them have a class or have some type of training prior to graduation where they would have a class. And there are some at the schools that I have taught, that I've subbed in, where they have a class where they teach these kids. They'll come in and they'll say how to write a check, how to fill out a job application, because a lot of them won't be going to college. A lot of them will graduate from high school and they'll want to get a job. If they don't know how to fill out an application, then they're not going to know how to do that. So I think it's real important that the schools teach that stuff to all the kids as much as possible in that area. And the last thing I would say is just make sure that they have an open mind and thinking of what's going to happen down the road from now. A lot of the kids, they'll graduate and all they know about is how to use a cell phone. Well, cell phones and work don't go together, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of the kids, they'll come into class, they'll be 5 minutes late, they come to school late. They have to realize that there's rules once you graduate from high school. And I think we have a big opportunity to make sure we teach those children or our students that before they graduate from high school. So that's what I have. Thank you.
All right, and Sue Unvericht, you're up next. What skills and knowledge do you believe are essential for a high school graduate to succeed in today's world, and how would you work as a board member to ensure that students are properly equipped?
Well, the statistics are appalling as to our literacy level of adults, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I want to say something many of you probably know better than I, but maybe half of adults in the United States are reading at a 6th grade level or something like this. So literacy and is very important, reading and writing, of course. And then there's a new word I've learned in studying for this school board role, which is numeracy, which means competency with numbers in the same way as literacy means competency with language. So these two skills are very important. On top of that, yes, good citizenship, how to play nice in the sandbox. This needs to all be part of growing up and to be successful. I would say logical and critical thinking, to the extent that we can teach that to the students in the upper grade, is going to serve them very, very well. And somehow if they can graduate with their curiosity intact, that will serve people well in succeeding. There's so many ways to find things out, but some people I notice are not curious really about much at all. An open mind, a curious mind, I don't know. It just makes life good. It's a strength I feel like I've always had. I've made job changes and role changes and all the things, and I always find myself just very curious. And then, of course, the other piece I mentioned, which is if we can help them to have a big vision, to have a broad vision, to understand that with hard work and perseverance and a little bit of luck and time, that they can go places like that Dr. Seuss book says that everybody gets for a graduation gift. But these are the things I think that a high school student, if they have these things, they will be set up for success. And the first couple, they come through the classroom, they come through classes, they come through beautiful relationships with adults, of course, with their families, and it's a great question. Thank you for it. It's a dreamy question, and I really like it.
All right, and Bonnie Maxwell Drake, you get the last word on this round. What skills and knowledge do you believe are essential for a high school graduate to succeed in today's world, and how would you work as a board member to ensure that students are properly equipped?
I'm going to reverse that. So the last part, how would I work as a board member to focus on it? The goal of the board to plan with a focus of the future students' needs, I think is where I struggle, but where I think the question is directed. I think that Zach had a very good point that we need to try to have more partnerships and relationships with the professional community. Maybe get involved with the chamber, get these entrepreneurs and these professionals involved with the school, and any students that want mentorships for careers that they think they want to proceed in, to be able to sit down and to spend quality time with those professionals and really dive deep into it. Not just to learn what it is that the job entails, but also to be inspired by those people, to get the knowledge, the insight, but also to learn that those people didn't just start off and make lots of money and, go gangbusters, that they had to have perseverance, and they failed and they struggled, and they had to really work at it, and they had to keep their chin up, and they had to keep moving forward despite their odds. And I think that those partnerships with professionals that have succeeded, I think will teach the students some of the life lessons that they need in citizenship, for after school and into their professional lives and into the community as a community member. I do love that we are pushing more trade certification as well as more college accreditations in the high schools to help our high schoolers get further towards career goals. And I am not one that loves my kid's face being in their phone, but the thing of it is tomorrow is all about technology, and a lot of the careers out there are going to be based on all that technology. So I think really giving them platforms where they can learn the technology and understand in their careers how that technology works while they're in school will only help them. So I think putting it to use in a good way. I think they need more life skills. I think they do need to learn things like how to work together as a team, how to take accountability when they mess up, how to own it and move forward, and how to apologize, how to sorry, thank you.
Well, I can tell you that as a product of the public school system, I started as an 8th grader doing the morning announcements in junior high school. So, thank goodness it was a faculty member that recognized that there was something behind this class clown that was able to be put to good use. We are now getting to our fifth and final question before closing statements. And Mary Ann Dellinger, you'll go first. What do you see as the board's role in supporting teachers and staff, and how would you work to attract, develop, and retain high-quality educators and administrators in our district?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think it's important, we haven't talked about it until now at the end, is to talk about the board's responsibilities, right? So synthesizing the board responsibilities, grouping them into categories. There are three broad categories: policy and superintendent supervision, the curriculum and academic standards, and district finances and property. So, can you repeat the question again? Now I forgot.
Board's role in supporting teachers
There
and
you go.
staff, working to attract and develop, retain high-quality
Correcting, okay.
administrators.
So, again, I'm going to get back to consistency in communication, especially communication. We live in a very fast world. There's a lot of times that in education, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is. And if I'm a board member, my first rule would be boots on the ground. So I'm very lucky in that I am retired, and it would be my goal to meet every single teacher in this district, to know what they see as the strengths of the district and what they need help with. Also, what they think needs to be made as far as policy. So part of the board's responsibility and policy is also seeing that procedures are taken out. And again, that has to be proactive. That has to be more than sitting at this dais every third Thursday of the month. It has to be outreach, and it has to be with community members. As far as curriculum academic standards, hey, that's my wheelhouse, right? I've written curriculum, I've written instruction, I've done that for years. The one thing that I would like to see is, again, some consistency and some collaboration among schools, between grade levels. We have standards that are handed down from the state that are basically based on the national standards. I was part of writing the national standards in foreign languages. What I would like to see is collaboration as to how do we put those standards into practice, and what are we using, so that some people, now, and when I say consistency, I don't mean micromanaging teachers. Teachers absolutely need their autonomy. But there has to be some kind of, there has to be some kind of a connection, a bridge that goes between one level and the next level. And I see the board as being that cohesive person without micromanaging. And that's by a board that is visible besides the third Wednesday of the month.
All right, Bruce Sprague, you're up next. What do you see as the board's role in supporting teachers and staff, and how would you work to attract, develop, and retain high-quality educators and administrators in our district?
Well, from my background in running organizations, you have to have an open door policy. I'm really big into that. I've already spoken to 2 or 3 of the administrators, and including the existing school board president now, to ask his information on what he thinks would be good for the school districts. I've also talked to the assistant superintendent of this district talking about facilities, so I need to have an open ear to listen to what they have to say. My management style is always to see what my people need and what I need to do to help them achieve what they need to achieve. And so that's been my management style my whole life. It's something I learned a long time ago, courtesy to the United States Marine Corps. They teach that from day one as in leadership, and that's my leadership style. So my idea is to get a hold of, like Mary Ann said, or somebody else said, I would like to get to know all the teachers. I do know a lot of the teachers. I'm fortunate because I've been in the district for the last 10 years, so I know a lot of the issues that they would like to do. But I would also, if anybody, teachers, administrators would come to me and say, hey, Bruce, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And I think it's really important for me to go and ask them, because they've been doing this job. I'm not an educator by trade, but I think if I can listen and learn what they're telling me, and maybe that'll be able to make me a better board member so that I can communicate with them out there. And so far, I think I've done a pretty good job with that, and I would continue to do that as an open door, and any way I could help the administrations, because they have a very tough job, and I know that teachers have a very tough job. And so if a teacher, I guess if I was able to go on campus and talk to the teachers, I do know some of them, and say, hey, what do you think is the best thing that I could do to help you in your classroom? Then I would be very open to that, and that's how I would support the teachers and the staff from the superintendent on down. Thank you.
All right, Sue Unverricht, you're up next. What do you see as the board's role in supporting teachers and staff, and how would you work to attract, develop, and retain high-quality educators and administrators in our district?
Okay. So I have heard, in my campaigning process, I have spoken with many current and retired teachers and heard many comments, and in fact, I write them on my paper and I go home and I keep them in a notebook. And when I try to synthesize those comments, they actually are quite divergent. So what do you do with that? The other thing is that the board's role is not exactly, I think it could be very, very, our employee is our superintendent, and then there are principals, and then there are many people involved in direct communication with teachers. So while I'm interested to hear teachers, I'm interested to hear parents, I'm also cognizant that we are a policy governance board, and so we need to stay within those constraints. In thinking about this question that it might come up or something on this order, so for me, I pulled this May 2024 Louisiana Department of Education Let Teachers Teach study that they did down there, and they put this into just a few pages. Again, we'll have to develop our own priorities, but I would love to discuss some of these topics in general, and I would like to get input as to what's already happening in these areas, because these are what actual teachers have worked together and made recommendations, and they have made recommendations about professional learning and making meetings worthwhile. They have made recommendations about required trainings, and I think one of the great ideas is to enact pre-test exemptions from required trainings. They have made recommendations about student behavior and discipline, because of course all of these things actually are what support the teachers. They have asked these Louisiana teachers have asked to decouple student behavior and the school accountability system, which I think is interesting, removing suspension rates as criteria within the school and the system accountability model. They have asked for greater trust and trust us, don't blame us. And they have asked that students who are excessively disruptive to the learning environment to be removed from the classroom. They have asked us to address the challenges of chronic absenteeism, which we really haven't had a chance to get into, but it's a huge problem, especially post our COVID response, not just for Humboldt, but for the nation, for the state, everywhere. Chronic absenteeism is a huge barrier to learning. So they have, in this, it's not very long. I just think it would be an interesting discussion point, and I would love to hear what's going on. Oh, here, support student mental health challenges through trained professionals. Don't force teachers to be mental health professionals. They've got a lot of neat ideas in here, and I just love to explore them and
Thank you.
See what we can do about it.
All right. Bonnie Maxwell Drake, you're up next. What do you see as the board's role in supporting teachers and staff, and how would you work to attract, develop, and retain high-quality educators and administrators in our district?
That is a great question. While campaigning, I talked to lots of teachers and other staff members in the schools, with 9 schools in Humboldt Unified School District and like 675 staff. There's a lot to be concerned about. The number one thing that was expressed by the teachers specifically was safety. They were concerned about going to school, being in a classroom. They were concerned about sending their kids to class, and they were concerned about other people entrusting their kids to come to class in their safety, and whether or not they could keep those children safe in the schools. With things that have happened in Prescott Valley over the last year, my concerns about school safety has also gone up considerably compared to how I felt the last 10, 15 years. So safety is a concern that I think we do need to address. The teachers also expressed with me that help in the classroom, that there's too many tasks and not enough time to prep between lessons. And so they need more people in the classroom. It used to be that a lot of parents would help volunteer in classrooms and help with those tasks, but now there's a lot of households that are two parent working households, and they don't have people that can have the time to volunteer in the classrooms, and the teachers are really paying the price from not having those volunteers. So increasing volunteers in the classroom would help greatly. And then the other thing, which is great that Sue brought it up, was actually that they were requesting more training, is that they felt like they weren't provided enough training for the things that they're expected to perform in different ways. It could be anything from how to properly handle an upset student in their classroom without having it take away from the rest of the class, or it could be, how to do a lesson plan, so proper training. With that, I feel like part of the funding that we need to consider as board members in the policies are the competitive wages. I feel like if we want to be in top performing test scoring, then we need to pay our teachers for competitively with top performing teachers that are getting those high test scores and that are maintaining a quorum of mutual respect in their classroom. So I feel like basically you get what you pay for, so.
All right, and Zach Garfield, you get last word on question number 5. What do you see as the board's role in supporting teachers and staff, and how would you work to attract, develop, and retain high-quality educators and administrators in our district?
So I do see the board's role as being responsible for policy, not just the drafting of it, but also the ongoing maintenance of policy, making sure that it's being adhered to, et cetera. That's something that I'm especially skilled at, given that I run a risk and control governance function. And I think it's really important because you can see how decisions made at the board ultimately have outputs, right? So I think that there's great opportunities for us with the purse strings, as well as the opportunity to look at what policies we need to have that are required, and then what additional policies we need to develop the culture we want. Because ultimately, what I've heard is that on the plus side, I like to talk about what's working, right? What are our strengths? Well, to me, the strengths are the culture that's been created in this district. The teachers and staff, they wear so many hats. They're at the football games, policing at the top of the bleachers. They're getting calls. Oh, we got to run down and there's a fight or whatever it is, right? And that's one thing. They're on trips to support the future business leaders of America. They put their heart and soul into this role, and we need to compensate them within whatever boundaries we can. Let's maximize those boundaries. I do think that, again, going back to the funding, there's lots of different places funding comes from. I don't necessarily know if I know there's some, but it says here's a pool. We need to evaluate the cost of living increases from year to year, make sure that our compensation keeps up with those, and then maybe goes that next level, at least getting us to that Arizona standard. I think another thing that I've heard a lot about is the teachers want a voice, right? And it's not to say that what's in place today doesn't give them some kind of voice, but I think that when I see the teachers bring their students to do a choir performance, or I see them coming to propose an idea, that's a big moment, right? And we need to treat it with the seriousness it deserves. And you have extremely brilliant people that are educators, but they bring so much more to the table. So I think that coming up with creative ways to give them a voice, direct to board, direct to superintendent, whatever the case may be, let's make some of those changes as well. And then I love the idea of career pathing, right? So the idea that to attract with good money, a good strong culture, the ability to work on cost of living, and then once they're here, what kind of career pathing and development planning can we put in place for them, so that folks see that this is the beginning of my career if they're coming in as a new teacher, or I have experience, there's other things I can bring to the table. Let's make sure we maximize all of that, and big kudos to the teachers in this community. It's just been amazing.
All right, so now we will have 1 minute closing statements, and Bonnie Maxwell Drake, you get to go first.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for Marnie with the Chamber for putting this together for us. Thank you, Christine, for allowing the use of our space. I appreciate all of you that came out and listened to all of us. I think no matter who's voted on the board, you guys are in good hands. And please vote on November 5th. No matter who you vote for, please come out and vote. And of course, we appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Zach Garfield, 1 minute closing statement.
So I've talked a lot about who I am and what I believe I'm capable of as part of this board. I think that one of my top skills is collaboration, being able to listen to folks, being able to make connections between ideas, people, resources. That's something that I get a lot of excitement about. The idea of bringing AI into the environment as not just how do we manage it with students potentially borrowing directly from the content, but also using it as a tool to drive down some of those administrative overhead costs and get us in compliance and let that do the work. But at the end of the day, what I stand for, where I come from, and what my parents have always taught me to be, and what we've taught our children is to be nice to people, to learn a lot, to have fun, to tell the truth, and to work hard. And that's exactly what I'm going to hold myself and everyone else accountable for as part of this board.
Marianne Dellinger, 1 minute closing statement.
Okay, so every one of us sitting here tonight shares a genuine, deep-felt commitment to ensuring that HUSD offers a world-class education in a safe environment. There could be no doubt about that. Yet important distinctions set us apart. First is our understanding of teaching, learning, and the educational system beyond personal anecdotes. So the 5 worst words to say to a teacher is, when I was in school, right? So the first one is that, what we know about teaching and educational system. Second is our professional background. Specifically, how does our knowledge and our experience match with the responsibilities of the board? And finally is our grasp of the issues that are facing HUSD and the solutions that we can bring. I'm Marianne Dellinger. I've been preparing for this job since 1991, and I hope you will entrust me with your vote.
Thank you. Bruce Sprague, 1 minute closing statement.
Yes, I think my 40 years of experience in management, all levels, from my Marine Corps experience to governmental experience to coaching, it will give me a heads up on being able to work with the board and to work with all the people on the board. And I think if I'm hopefully elected, I think I would do an outstanding job from my background and my experience over the last 40 years. And I would love anybody's support, and thank you very much.
And Sue Unverricht, you get the last word.
I ask you to vote for me, Sue Unverricht, for Humboldt School Board. I care deeply about the welfare and capacity of our next generation. I listen carefully to various points of view and consider data before making decisions. I'm very collaborative. I will keep us on course towards our noble end goals. I will be the only one on the board with a financial background. Our current board member with a financial background is not running again. And it's especially important at this time as the billions of dollars in emergency federal money have come to an end. We have a golden opportunity to identify and preserve the most cost-effective programs that impact student learning. Please vote for me, Sue Unverricht, for Humboldt School Board.
And with that, it is 7 o'clock on the nose. So I want to thank all of our candidates. You certainly have our admiration for tossing your hat in the ring, no matter where or who you are. And certainly want to echo that voting on November 5th is your absolute duty. And appreciate you and the chamber coming together to put this forum together. So once again, thank you and have a wonderful evening.